November 1992. We're almost at the end of the year. My birthday month turned 26 that year. Time flies. But let's just get into the books. Just ignore that text notification sound if you even heard it. We're gonna jump right in. We started off November 1992 with The Great and Secret Show by Clive Barker. This is one of his big honkin' books, and it's the first of two in the Art series, I think is what it's called. And it's one of those epic battle of good and evil things. Yeah, I think it's the Art series because they call this sort of force in the world the Art. It's kind of like the Force from Star Wars. And you have, I think the characters are Jaff and Fletcher. Jaff is the bad guy trying to taint the Art. Fletcher's trying to stop him, and this just spans eons and or at least centuries, I think. I don't know about eons. Maybe, maybe not. Just one of those huge, epic battle of good and evil type books in the Clive Barker style. Second book of the month is The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. I have this fancy new copy. For anyone who doesn't know, this is the novel that's the basis for the movie Hellraiser. And it's about the Cenobites and pleasure and pain, and it's I was about to say it's the book that put Clive Barker on the map, but that might have been the Books of Blood. I'm not sure. It's definitely the movie that excuse me brought him into bigger, greater consciousness, I think. This husband, this guy, his wife, and daughter moving into a new house, unbeknownst to them. His brother, Frank, who had disappeared. Well, I won't get into all the details, but he died. He's up in the attic, or died up in the attic, and some blood gets on the floor, and Frank starts coming back from the dead, and the Cenobites want him back. I guess I went into a little detail. Fantastic book, fantastic movie. The Hellbound Heart, Clive Barker. I was actually just talking about that earlier today. I want to reread that and then reread The Last Illusion, one of his novellas, and then read for the first time The Scarlet Gospel, which combines the Cenobites and the character whose name escapes me at the moment, but the character from The Last Illusion. I've heard very mixed reviews about The Scarlet Gospel, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to move on to the next book, which was Don't Panic by Neil Gaiman. It's basically just a history of Douglas Adams and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. Excuse me. Obviously, this is an older edition, since I read it in 1992. They're looking it up just to double check I knew what I was talking about, which may or may not be the case. There is a new edition that covers things that didn't exist when this book came out, which would include like the most recent movie, and I think there's some other like companion work that it covers. But this covers the how Douglas Adams came up with it, the original radio show, and then the books, and then things that didn't happen, and then things that have happened. But as a huge, huge fan of both Neil Gaiman and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it was a no-brainer that I was going to read this. Then we have another book I have a copy of, Roon by Christopher Fowler. And throughout London, it says on the back, people are dying in brutal accidents. There doesn't seem to be, well, does it say? It says there doesn't seem to be a connection until some of the bodies yield a puzzling clue, strips of paper, each one inscribed with angular, indecipherable hieroglyphics. Then it says, to his horror, advertising executive Harry Buckingham is linked with several of the victims. Well, that sort of contradicts the whole there's no connection part. But I guess at the beginning, there's no connection. And then someone realizes that this Harry Buckingham is the connection. And he's got to figure out what's going on. Don't remember too much about this. It's one that I've planned on rereading. I have only a couple of Christopher Fowler's books, and yeah, I don't remember this very well at all, so rereading it would be like reading something new. I do dig that cover, though. I don't know, it's kind of fun. All right, we've got two more books, and they are both from Dell Abyss. So the first one of these, which is the fifth book I read in November of 1992, Tunnel Vision by R. Patrick Gates. Now it's time to start looking at my notes. So the main character in this is a policeman named Bill Gage. His father commits suicide, and Mr. Gage, or Officer Gage, finds out that he happens to be the son of a serial killer. And so he becomes obsessed with hunting down another serial killer. Since it's an Abyss book, I assume that it's very, very psychological. Psychological horror. They weren't, I don't think the Abyss books were super graphic. They may have been. They more lean towards the weird. And again, a whole series of books that I would love to have in my possession again. And then the last book I read in November of 1992, also an Abyss book, is Wilding by Melanie Tam. And this is about a pack of female werewolves in Denver, and there's sort of a runaway werewolf who's half werewolf, half human. I don't know how that works. But because she's run away, just out there on her own, it could sort of draw attention to the pack and cause trouble, so they have to find her. Again, don't really remember. Would love to have these again and reread the Abyss line. And that's it. That's all I have, for November of 1992. And let's see, question for the video. Are you a Clive Barker fan? Been talking a lot about Clive today with someone online. Are you a fan of his work? I am. Everything I've read so far, I have not read everything. Excuse me just a moment. I have a tickle in my throat and I'm about to cough. Horribly rude thing to do on video, but that's what you get with my channel. Excuse me. Yes, Clive Barker. Big fan. I think I saw Hellraiser first. That was my exposure to him, although it's possible I had seen the Books of Blood books on the shelf before that. Can't say 100%. Love the Books of Blood. I'm looking for particular copies. They had these back in I think it was the 80s, these really garish covers for the first 3 volumes when they were printed in the United States. And I would love to have those. But yeah, great short stories. The Hellbound Heart is fantastic. And what have I read? Thief of Always. And obviously The Great and Secret Show. All sorts of good stuff. Just an amazing writer, an amazing artist. I have 3 comic books that he wrote up on my wall. He started a series for Marvel, or a bunch of series for Marvel Comics. I have the first issue of 3 of them up on the wall. Yeah, huge fan. And I even have, there's an anthology of stories by different authors based on the Hellbound Heart stuff. There's one called Midian Unmade that's based on the Nightbreed, which I believe is Cabal. And one of my favorites, the Sherlock Holmes versus the Cenobites book, is fantastic. So yeah, I really dig Clive Barker. Just an amazing author with an amazing imagination. What do you think? Are you a fan? I enjoy a lot of the movies. I have the first two Hellraiser movies on, I think, Arrow Video, so tons and tons of extras. I have the Scream Factory edition of Candyman, as well as the new version of Candyman. Um, I'd like to get Nightbreed and Lord of Illusions. But anyway, again, I mean, this is the third time. What do you think? Are you a fan of his writing? Are you a fan of his movies? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Excuse me. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know all the YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That is all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.